Dramatic UFO Healing Cases Part 1. With the permission of our editor, Reinerio Hernandez, and my co-author Preston Dennett, I am posting case histories drawn from Chapter 6 of Beyond UFOs. The chapter is titled Medical Healings Reported by UAP Contact Experiencers. An analysis of the free data. The Free Experiencer Survey was a large multinational study of over 4,000 self-described UAP contact witnesses. To date, it is the only large comprehensive academically designed investigation of individuals claiming that they have had contact with UAP-associated non-human intelligences. The findings of this investigation can be found in Beyond UFOs, published by the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial and Extraordinary Encounters Free. Case Study 5. Alberto Fernandez. Healing of Traumatic Avulsion of Right Eye. Interview by Joseph Burks, M.D. Mr. Alberto Fernandez is a retired Federal Drug Enforcement Administration DEA agent, and his wife, Rebecca Fernandez, is a Ph.D. psychologist. Both have a history of seeing UAPs up close and close contact experiences with non-human intelligence. Alberto was born in 1945 in Santiago, Cuba. Orphaned soon after birth, he was raised by his maternal grand-aunt. They lived in the Sierra Maestra Mountains of eastern Cuba. There he had what he described as his first paranormal experience. It reportedly happened when he was about 3 years old. He recalled seeing a man sitting on his bed wearing a white robe. This stranger was filled with light. The being watched as Alberto played and tenderly patted him on the head. Years later, after seeing a painting of Jesus, he thought that this was the man that had seen sitting on his bed. Alberto wrote, "I felt a deep connection with him." Strange encounters continued during his childhood. Mr. Fernandez described another experience as follows. Single quote. "One evening, when I was 6 years old, I was in my bedroom by myself when suddenly the lights went off. It was pitch black. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in front of me out of nowhere. This light had an ignited heart within it. The light was hovering approximately a foot from my chest. This ignited red heart slowly got closer and closer to my chest. When it entered my chest, I started to convulse. Sometime later, I saw a drawing of Jesus depicting the ignition inside of the Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ. This intense image gave me a déjà vu of the experience I had as a child. I have not witnessed anything like that again in my life." At age 14, he had a near-death experience while swimming alone at a Havana beach. He was caught in a strong rip current and could not make it back to shore. He became totally exhausted. "I just gave up. I was drowning. I would see myself going down under the water. Flashes of my entire life went through my mind, thoughts of my deceased mother Lydia and of God. I knew this was the end of my life. I remember I said, 'Mother, God, help me.' Suddenly, almost in a flash, I felt a tremendous force, like an immense energy. That pulled me out of the depths and gently placed me on the concrete sidewalk across the street from the pier. I did not have a scratch, nor did I even cough up any water. I was in such a state of shock. I was soaking wet with water. I stood up immediately and walked home. I did not tell anyone about this incident." In 1961, at age 16, Fernandez left communist Cuba for the USA as a part of Operation Peter Pan, in which thousands of children were flown to the States without their families. 7. At that time, many Cubans were frightened by rumors that the Castro regime might take custody of their children and send them to the former Soviet Union. At age 18, Mr. Fernandez joined the U.S. Army in a program to train young Cuban men to combat the Castro dictatorship. The operation, however, was discontinued following the President Kennedy assassination. Several years after completing his military service, Fernandez joined the Metro-Dade Police Department. His first UAP sighting was in 1973. One night at 11:30 p.m., Officer Fernandez had just come off a shift and was standing in front of his home. Suddenly, a bright beam of light flashed down from the sky. He looked up and at first, he thought he was seeing a helicopter, but it didn't have the typical roar of a chopper. The object hovered directly above his house, clearing the roof by only 5 feet. It was 40 feet wide, shaped like a hamburger, and had a bright blue light that rotated counterclockwise. A yellow light shined through the windows. Alberto Fernandez stated, "This phenomenon tampered with my brain. I wasn't the same individual after this encounter." A few days later, Mr. Fernandez experienced a frightful encounter in which he felt the presence of a non-human intelligence in his bedroom. He then became completely paralyzed. For the next 10 years, he was plagued by recurrent terrifying contact experiences that occurred 2 to 3 times per month. I would wake up in the middle of the night sensing the presence of an entity in my bedroom. This energy would start paralyzing me from my feet to my head. This unknown energy possessed my body and my mind. I had no control over it. I was in terror every night because I couldn't scream. It is difficult for Alberto to estimate how long these agonizing experiences typically lasted. His guess was that they went on for less than 1 minute, but he is not certain. Each time as they ended, he described feeling totally drained, as if he had engaged in prolonged sexual activity. And then he would lose consciousness and awake the next morning feeling exhausted. After working 5 years for the Metro-Dade Police Department in 1975, Officer Fernandez changed jobs and joined the Drug Enforcement Administration. He was trained to be a special agent and worked first in Miami and then in Puerto Rico. In 1984, he was given diplomatic status as a DEA officer attached to the U.S. Embassy in the Dominican Republic. Injured on the job, he returned to Miami and was given temporary housing in the penthouse of Hotel Sofitel. There, he had a close encounter of the third kind in which he was given an explanation as to why he had been subjected to 10 years of recurrent visitations. Post from user Contact Underground at Reddit.